السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم
بسم
الله.
الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال: وإذا قيل له إن المشتري فلان فسلم الشفعة ثم علم أنه غيره فله الشفعة لتفاوت الحوار، ولو علم أن المشتري هو فلان من غير مع غيره فله أن يأخذ نصيب غيره، لأن التسليم له يوجد في حقه. ولو بلغ شراء النصف فسلم ثم ظهر شراء الجميع فله الشفعة، لأن التسليم لضرر الشركة في حقه ولا شركة فيه. وفي عكسه لا شفعة في ظاهر الرواية، لأن التسليم في الكل تسليم في أبعاضه. والله تعالى أعلم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم نوّر قلوبنا بمعرفتك واشرح صدورنا بنور كتابك وسنة نبيك، واحفظنا عن زلل وخطأ في بيان مرادك. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم استعملنا ولا تستبدلنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين، هادين مهتدين غير الضالين ولا مضلين. So we basically discussing what instances or in which instances will a person's shuf'ah, the right to first refusal, becomes invalidated. And we were discussing that with regards to the amount or the money that is being paid. So if it reached the person, the shafi, that cash was being paid, but then the reality came out that or rather a certain amount was being paid. Understand? For example, 1,000 rands for the house. That is the news that reached him, as a result of which he waived his right to haku shufa. But then he came to know that it was actually less than that. Right? So there's a difference in the amount of money, or there's a difference in the type of wealth or mal that has been exchanged. It reached him that it was being sold for wheat or for barley to the amount of, or to the cost of 1,000 or more. And again, here he gave up his right. Understand? So here also, after it became known that that was incorrect, it's actually less than that, or it was being given for cash or some other type of grain or some other type of food stuff, then in those instances there, meaning makili, mawzuni, or adad mutaqarib, meaning those foodstuffs which are zawatul qiyam, and zawatul amthal, which will normally be able to give the same type of thing as the payment. So in all these instances here, his wavering of the shufa will be discounted, will not be counted, and he will be able to claim shufa after learning that he was incorrectly informed. However, if he was told that gold coins were being paid, or that silver coins were being paid, and then it turned out the opposite. And instead of silver coins, gold coins, instead of gold coins, silver coins, and that won't make a difference. If he gave up his shofar, the shofar is invalid. Because money is money. Even if it's 1,000 dirhams, even if it's 1,000 gold coins, and later came out it was actually dirhams, so to the value of that, it comes to the same thing, no difference. So in terms of the value, cash value, there is no difference. And there's a difference of opinion of Imam Zufar Rahmatullahi, who counts that also as a different jins. Now we come to who purchased the item. There's a difference. He was correctly informed as to who purchased the house. قال وإذا قيل له أن المشتري فلان. If it was said to him that the person who purchased the house was so and so, somebody that he knew, oh, mashallah, very good, Abdullah. Abdullah purchased it. Oh, he's a very good person, mashallah, great to have him as a neighbor. فسلم الشفعة, so he gave up his right to shufa. ثم علم أنه غيره. Then it came to know it was somebody else, no, not that Abdullah, some other Abdullah, or somebody else completely Zayd, whatever, and you were incorrectly informed. فله الشفعة, then here also he has the right to reclaim الشفعة لتفاوت الجوار, because of the because of the differences in neighborliness, or in the different types of neighbor. You might be happy to have one person as a neighbor, but not happy to have another person as a neighbor. So therefore, this doesn't show disinclination, but rather inclination. ولو علم أن المشتري هو مع غيره فله أن يأخذ نصيب غيره. And if it came to know that yes, Abdullah is purchasing it, but he's buying it in partnership with somebody else. Understand? So yeah, he can then take the share of the partner. So he's happy with Abdullah, no problem, but he's not so happy with Abdullah's partner, Khalid. They're buying it jointly. So then whatever Khalid's share is of the purchase, he can claim shufa in that share, in that percentage. You follow? وَلِأَنَّ التَّسْلِيمَ لَمْ يُوجَدْ فِي حَقِّهِ, because the wavering of his haqqu shufa was not found with regards to this other person. Now, so that's that, right? Now we come to news reaching him as to how much of the house is. So we discussed the money and the differing news that he received with regards to that. We discussed the neighbor or the person purchasing the house, the mushtari, who he was. Now we're discussing the house itself, how much of it or what portion of it was being sold or is being sold. ولو علم أن ولو بلغه شراء النصف فسلم ثم ظهر شراء الجميع فله شفعة. If news reached him that only half the house was being sold, so he gave up, he waived his right of shufa. ثم ظهر, then it came to light that no, the whole house is being sold, then he can reclaim his shufa. Why? لأن التسليم لضرر الشركة, because here we will say that the only reason why he gave up his right was because of the inconvenience or the harms of partnership. He didn't want to share the house with somebody. Then the whole or nothing. I want it all or nothing. I don't want to share with anybody else, because then I have to go through the whole difficulty of every time checking things with my partner before I do anything. ولا شركة لترد الشركة ولا شركة وفي عكسه لا شفعة للظاهر رواية. Because ولا شركة again also.
ولا شركة فيه.
ولا شركة
فيه.
فيه. And there's no shirka in the whole. وفي عكسه لا شفعة. If the opposite of that, it reached him that the whole house was being sold, so he said, no, I don't have so much money. And then it reached him that not only half the house is being sold for half the price, and you got that amount. So لا شفعة في ظاهر رواية. So according to the ظاهر رواية, here you will not be entitled to reclaim شفعة. لأن التسليم في الكل تسليم في إبعاضه, because when you have wavered and given up your right in the whole, then you have wavered and given up your right in the parts of the whole as well. Understood?
Okay.
Now we're coming to the next fasl, right? So this chapter is on hila, heel. It's plural hila or plural heel. What is heel? Heel means a strategy in order to avoid any claim of shufa. These are permissible in the Sharia, in the Hanafi madhab. These are permissible Shari strategies that you can use, stratagems that you can use to try and block the neighbor from claiming shufa. Okay? And the main thing is here that you don't cause harm, deliberate harm to the neighbor. So none of the strategies are such that it causes deliberate harm to the neighbor. قال وإذا باع دارا إلا مقدار ذراع منها في طول الحد الذي يلي الشفيع فلا شفعة له. And if a person sells a house except one dhira, except one arm length, let's say a meter, just making simple, a dhira is one arm length, approximately 40 centimeters, 38 to 40 centimeters. Right, we'll just say a meter. Except for 1 meter along the length of that boundary, which is next to the Shafi's house, then there's no shufa for the neighbor. Okay, so you've got a house, right? And let's say that the right side wall of this house, the right side house, or the right side wall of the house is the one which is neighboring the neighbor, which is the one on the side of the neighbor, right? The right side wall. You follow? Can you picture that?
جي جي
Now, along this right side wall, about 1 meter away from it, you sell the whole house except that amount. You sell the whole house except the 1 meter running from end to end of the house. With that exception, you sell the rest of the house. Okay? So now the neighbor can't claim shufa. Why? Because the part that is touching his land is not under sale. It's not for sale. It's been excluded from the sale. You follow?
جي
So the sababu shufa, which is ittisal, doesn't exist in this case here. So therefore, the neighbor can't claim shufa. You understand it?
جي
Right. I'll translate it again. If a person sells a house except for the amount of 1 dirham, we said we just use 1 meter as to make it simple, except for 1 meter of it running along the length of that part of the house which is close to the Shafi or next to the Shafi's house, فَلَا شُفْعَةَ لَهُ, then he is not entitled to shufa. Why? لِإِنْكِطَاعِ الْجَوَارِ, because now the sabab of jiwar, which is of neighborliness or attachment, has been cut off, has been rendered void. وَهَذِهِ حِيلَةٌ, this is a strategy, a stratagem. وكذا إذا ذهب منه هذا مقدار وسلمه إليه لما بينا. And the same thing will apply if he has to gift that amount of the house to the buyer and give it to him for the reason which we have already explained. Okay, that there is no shufa in a gift. So you sold the whole house except the 1 meter neighboring the neighbor's house, the Shafi's house. And he said, you know what, I'll sell you the whole house except this piece, this portion I'll give it to you as a gift. So by gifting that portion, the purchaser becomes a partner in the house. Now, after becoming a partner, he then is entitled to the rest of the house, number one. And number two, by gifting him that portion, there's no shufa in gift, because remember we said it is only shufa where there's exchange of mal, where there's a mutual exchange of wealth for wealth, the house for cash. Okay, and that part which is attached to the neighbor has been gifted. No money is exchanging hands there. You understood that?
جي
قال وإذا ابتاع منها سهما بثمن ثم ابتاع بقيتها فشفعة للرجال في السهم الأول دون الثاني. That if a person has to purchase from a portion of the house for cash, for an agreed upon price, ثم ابتاع بقية, then he buys the rest of the house, فشفعة للرجال. Then there will be shufa. The shufa will be for the jar في السهم الأولي, in the first portion it was sold, not in the second portion. لأن الشفي جارا فيهما, because the shafi is a neighbor in both portions. إلا أن المشتري في الثاني شريك, except however the mushtari in the second portion is now become a sharik, he's now become a partner في نفس المبيع فيتقدم عليه, so therefore he will be given first preference to to that other portion that was sold. So it's also another hila. Okay.
I just never understand the last one.
See, when you sold this, when you sold one portion of the house, right? You sold one portion of the house, and then you sell the next portion of the house separately.
Gee.
All
Okay,
right,
so normal. Gee.
Muff?
So like normal, like you sold
Like a
our
normal
house.
sale, yeah. But by that person becoming a partner in the house, he is now more entitled to the other portion it was sold than the neighbor. Okay, so by selling one portion of the house, the mushtari becomes a partner in the house. And then you sell him the other portion, he now becomes more entitled to the neighbor than the neighbor. Because now he is a sharik fi nafsil mabit. Okay?
Gee. Gee, understood it, Papa.
If I understood, okay.
Gee.
Uh, فإن أراد الحيلة, if he intends some strategy, if he wants to do some strategy, what he can do also is إبتاع السهم بالثمن إلا درهما مثلا, that he sells the one portion of the house for the entire selling price. As I'm selling you إلا درهما, except for one dirham. مثلا. So I'm selling you, for example, the house is on sale for, let's say, half a million. So he tells him, I'm selling it to you for 499,099 cents. Okay? Or
Gee.
499,000, right? Minus 1 rand, for example. Well, Baki bil Baki, I'm selling you the rest of the house for 1 rand. Understood?
Gee.
So here also, the same thing applies, that you become a partner, but what the strategy is here is that because you're selling a portion of the house, a small portion of the house almost almost the whole price, for almost the cost price, that neighbor will not be inclined, right? It is assumed the neighbor will not be inclined to buy a portion of the house for the price of the whole. You follow?
Gee.
So you'll give up hakul shufa, and then you sell the rest of the house for 1 rand, so that you get your money, full amount, and the person gets the house. You following?
Gee. Gee, understand.
It's almost like I sell a quarter or a third of the house for half a million, which is the price of the whole house. And then I sell the rest of the house for 1 rand, other 3/4 for 1 rand.
Gee.
Okay? I'm not losing out on anything. I'm still getting my full amount of money, but I'm avoiding or I'm blocking the neighbor from claiming shufa and coming in between the deal. Now, you won't want to be inclined, or, well, it won't make sense for him to want to buy a third of the house or less for the selling price of the whole house. You follow?
Gee.
وإن ابتاعها بثمن ثم دفع عليه ثوبا عوضا عنه فالشفعة بالثمن دون الثوب. And this one is a little bit funny. If the person buys the house for money, cash ثمن, right, agreed upon price, ثم دفع, but then he gives in lieu, instead of the money, he gives ثوبا, he gives cloth, عوضا عنه, in exchange of the agreed upon price. So they're selling the house for 500,000, but instead of giving 500,000 cash, he gives cloth or anything else, any other kind, equivalent to 500,000 rand. Understand? فالشفعة بالثمن دون الثوب. As we discussed before, because this is the Zawatul Qiyam, if the person does claim shufa, he'll have to pay the price of the house. You won't be able to give the cloth. And
Gee.
you'll have to pay 500,000 rand cash. You can't pay in cloth. Right? Someone explained this here that he inflates the price of the house. It costs 500,000, but he sells it for 1,000,000. And then he takes 500,000 rands worth of cloth. Okay? So he inflates the price, but then he takes, in exchange of the cash, he takes something equivalent to the actual price of the house. Understood?
yeah,
Now the neighbor will have to pay the full amount, 1 million, the asking price, even though that's not the price really, or not the real value of the house. Now I'm saying you'll have to, why? لأنه عقد آخر, because this is like is a second deal by the seller taking the cloth instead of the cash. That's almost like sulh. That's almost like he's settling for something other than the asking price, other than the cash. So this is like a separate deal, so to speak. It's almost like he's buying the cloth in exchange for the amount of money that he asked. لأنه عقد آخر والثمن هو العوض, and the asking price is that which is taking. عوض عن الدار, and the ثمن, the asking price is that which is being, what is the amount which is in exchange for the house. قال رضي الله عنه وهذه حيلة أخرى. The author رحمه الله تعالى says that this is another strategy تعم الجوار والشركة, that encompasses both the neighbor and the partner. You can use this strategy to block the neighbor and to block a partner. فيباع بأضعاف قيمته, so it will be sold for double the amount or triple the amount of its value. ويعطي بها ثمن or يعطى بها ثمن بقدر قيمته, but then you'll give cloth equivalent to the actual selling price. إلا أنه لو استحقت المشروع يبقى كل ثمن على المشتري. He's saying here that this strategy can backfire. This is a strategy, but it can backfire. In which way? Except, however, if somebody claims the house, mashwa, the house, which is under shufa, if somebody else, a third party, has to claim that house, though this house actually belongs to me, and saying why are you selling this house? It's actually my grandfather's house. These are the papers or whatever. And somebody else plays um, puts a genuine claim onto the house that it actually belongs to him. Then the seller will be stuck. The person who sold the house, he will be stuck. يبقى كل الثمن على المشتري الثوب لقيام البيع الثاني. Then the full amount will still be due from the person who purchased the thawb, which is the seller, because of the second transaction still remaining. So he'll be stuck having to pay that money, understand, to the person. You follow? فيتضرر به, so that's why he'll be on. Like, others will backfire and it will fall back onto his face. If it ends up that somebody else claims the house, he'll still have to give that 1 million, pay up that 1 million to the person who claimed the house. In cash, not in cloth.
sure.
You follow? Well,
That's
Oja,
the,
maaf?
I say that's the mushtari that will have to pay it. No?
No. The mushtari thawb refers to the seller, the ba'i. Mushtari
Okay,
thawb refers to the ba'i, the seller. Remember,
sure.
he's taking the cloth in exchange for the cash, which is the selling price, right? Now somebody else is claiming the house. So you can't give the other, so that person is entitled to the money. The person claiming the house is entitled to the money for which it was sold. So you can't give that person the cloth. You have to give the person cash.
Yeah,
You follow?
yeah,
So in this way, he'll be put at risk because now if he doesn't have that amount of money, what's he going to do? What Oja, however, better way of doing it is what أيباع بدراهم الثمن دينار حتى إذا استحق ومشروع يبطل الصرف فيجب رد الدينار ولا غير. That he sells it for dirhams, understand, but gives dinars. So instead of giving cloth or something like that, instead of the silver coin, you give gold coins. So this becomes bayu sarf. You're giving money for money, you're exchanging money for money. This is become bayu sarf. حتى therefore إذا استحق المشروع, if somebody claims the mashhur, the house which he sold, يبطل الصرف, the bayu sarf becomes باطل. because of because in Biosaf is a condition to hand over cash to cash immediately without any break in between. But now this person popped up, so that Biosaf becomes batil. And in this case, yeah, you'll have to just give back the money, nothing else. You follow? The cost of the house in any case. Okay, now they're saying last thing. ولا تكره الحيلة في إسقاط الشفعة عند حنيفة رحمه الله وتكره عند محمد رحمه الله. And it is not reprehensible, it's not makruh to apply a strategy in order to avoid the shufa, in order to block shufa, according to Imam Abu Yusuf rahmatullahi. However, Imam Muhammad rahmatullahi considers this to be reprehensible, illegal. لأن الشفعة إنما وجب لدفع الضرر. Why? Because shufa has only been established in order to avoid the inconvenience or the harms of a bad neighbor. ولو أبحنا الحيلة ما دفعناه. So if you're going to allow these kind of strategies, we are not avoiding the trouble that will come. Otherwise, the purpose for which shufa has been established will be lost. ولأبي يوسف رحمه الله إذا كون إمام يوسف رحمة الله عليه إنه منع عن إثبات الحق فلا يعد ضرر. That here we are preventing the haq from coming into being. We're not depriving him of his haq, but we are stopping the haq from ever coming into existence. فلا يعد ضررا, so it cannot be counted as ضرر, as harm. You follow?
Yeah.
فلا وعلى هذا الخلاف الحيلة في إسقاط الزكاة. And based upon this difference of opinion between those two, rahimahullah ta'ala, is also hila, also a strategy in order to avoid paying zakat. Imam Yusuf rahmatullahi says permissible, Imam Muhammad rahmatullahi says not permissible, illegal. And that brings us to the end of that fasal. Any questions? Anything you didn't understand?
Alhamdulillah, understood.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Hopefully we can maybe finish it tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. Then we're done with this kitab. Go on to kitab Qasma or Kisma, inshallah. Bismillah ta'ala. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.